guess, if someone can.
Next. 24?
25. 25, 25. Jayorata, Jayorata. 1 second. Hare Krishna. Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prachachana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Nachari Yamuna Tira Nachari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivachakacharya Sutra Satyashamati Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Antakuti Vaishnavrinda ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Udiraye. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, Text 25. Tam aha lalitam vira savridha smita shopanam snigdhena panga punkena Sprishta premot pramat pruvaha. Tam aha lalitam vira savrida smita shopanam snigdhena panga punkena Sprista premod pramat pruva.
Sprishta premod pramat pruva.
Tam aha lalitam vira.
Savrida smita shopanam.
Savrida smita shopanam.
Snigdena panga punkena.
Snigdena panga punkena.
Sprishta premod pramat pruva.
Sprista premod pramat pruva. Tam aha lalitam vira. Savrida smita shobhanam. Snigdena panga punkena. Sprishta premat pramat pruva. Vaishnavis. Tam aha lalitam vira. Savrida smita shobhanam. Snigdhena panga punkena. Sprishta premod pramat pruva. Tam unto her. Aha addressed. Lalitam very gently. Viraha the hero. Savrida with shyness. Smita smiling. Shobhanam very beautiful. Snigdhena by sex desire. Apanga punkena by the arrow of glancing. Sprishta thus pierced. Prema ud pramat exciting love. Bruva by the eyebrows. Okay, Bhagavatam 4, 25. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Puranjana, the hero, became attracted by the eyebrows and smiling face of the very beautiful girl and was immediately pierced by the arrows of her lusty desires. When she smiled shyly, she looked very beautiful to Puranjana, who, although a hero, could not refrain from addressing her. Purport. Every living entity is a hero in two ways. When he is a victim of the illusory energy, he works as a great hero in the material world, as a great leader, politician, businessman, industrialist, etc. And his heroic activities contribute to the material advancement of civilization. One can also become a hero by being master of the senses, a Goswami. Material activities are false heroic activities, whereas restraining the senses from material engagement is great heroism. However great a hero one may be in the material world, he can be immediately conquered by the lumps of flesh and blood known as the breast of a woman. In the history of material activities, there are many examples, like the Roman hero Antony, who became captivated by the beauty of Cleopatra. Similarly, a great hero in India named Bajai Raho became a victim of women during the time of Maharashtrian politics, and he was defeated. From history we understand that formerly politicians used to employ beautiful girls who were trained as Visha Kanya. These girls had poison injected into their bodies from the beginning of their lives, so that in due course of time they would become so immune to the poison and so poisonous themselves that simply by kissing a person they could kill him. What interesting. These poisonous girls were engaged to see an enemy and kill him with a kiss. Thus there are many instances in human history of heroes who have been curbed simply by women. Being part and parcel of Krishna, the living entity, is certainly a great hero, but due to his own weakness, he becomes attracted to the material features. Krishna bahir mukha hana bhogavan chakare nikatasta mayatare chapati adhare. It is said in Prema Vivarta that when a living entity wants to enjoy material nature, he is immediately victimized by the material energy. A living entity is not forced to come into the material world. He makes his own choice, being attracted by beautiful women. Every living entity has the freedom to be attracted by material nature or to stand as a hero and resist that attraction. It is simply a question of the living entities being attracted or not being attracted. There is no question of his being forced to come into contact with material energy. One who can keep himself steady and resist the attraction of material nature is certainly a hero and deserves to be called a Goswami. Unless one is master of the senses, he cannot become a Goswami. The living entity can take one of the two positions in this world. He may become a servant of his senses or may become master of them. By becoming a servant of the senses, one becomes a great material hero, and by becoming master of the senses, he becomes a Goswami or spiritual hero. Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnanatimirandasya Kinanjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalang Pangham Langati Kirim Yat Kripadamaham Vande Shri Gurutinatarinam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Puranjana, the hero, became attracted by the eyebrows and smiling face of the very beautiful girl and was immediately pierced by the arrows of her lusty desire. When she smiled shyly, she looked very beautiful to Puranjan, who, although a hero, could not refrain from addressing her. Hare Krishna. So we are here in the 4th canto and hearing the story of Puranjana. And here is described how Puranjana became, although he was a hero, he became conquered by the beauty of Puranjani. And Prabhupada gives this beautiful purport, making the point that there is two kinds of heroes, a material or a spiritual hero. And this is very befitting because actually Damodar Prasad Prabhu was meant to give class, but he requested me to give class with the request to also speak about His Holiness Kadamba Kanna Maharaj. And now the purport says about the spiritual hero, what would match better? Because certainly His Holiness Kadamba Kanna Maharaj was a great spiritual hero. You know, we can say he was amongst the great, I mean, every devotee is a great hero, that's for sure. Like everyone who takes to Krishna consciousness and as described here, fights against the material nature, becomes just by accepting the process of devotional service, once becomes a hero. You know, men and women, everyone becomes a hero just by following the path of devotional service. But amongst these heroes, there are the great generals of the army of the Sankirtan movement, and certainly Maharaj was an outstanding, a very great hero, great general in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan army. So what I did this morning when I was in the altar, because somehow I googled and I found a lecture given by Maharaj on this shloka. Kadamba Maharaj gave a class in 2012 in Sri Vrindavan Dham, Krishna Balaram Mandir, on this text 4:25:25. So I simply listened to the class while dressing the deities, and I will try to just repeat the class of Maharaj to some degree, so we can hear from Maharaj him speaking about this topic, and of course then we also will try to speak a bit about him. But we do have the program tomorrow where we want to glorify Maharaj. So I thought that's a nice way to do it, by basically repeating Maharaj's instruction, and in this way also glorifying him. So yes, every living entity is a hero in two ways. This is what Prabhupada emphasizes here, and he gives interesting historical facts how great personalities have been conquered basically by their own lusty desires. And Prabhupada also saying that a living entity is not forced to come into the material world, but one makes their own choice being attracted to material energy. And then Maharaj, when he gave class, he made the point that especially in the Western world nowadays, this whole sex attraction, or the whole attraction is so strong. It's very basically everyone is completely under the grip of sex desire, right? Like when we say you can be a material hero or a spiritual hero, we can understand there is hardly any spiritual heroes, right? I mean, if you look at society, how many spiritual heroes are there? How many people are there who control their senses? No one, like everyone is just going into just unrestricted sense gratification, especially sex life. Like illicit sex is so much kind of promoted everywhere, and it's just normal. It just, without any restrictions, just go for it as much as you can. That's basically the propaganda. And then Kadamba Maharaj, he tells how when he was a young devotee in 78, or late 70s, he was in Amsterdam, and one of his services was to, the Sankirtan devotees, they would go out on book distribution, and there was no time to wash the clothes because they were so much into the fire of book distribution. So Maharaj's service was to take all the laundry of all the brahmacharis, and they would bring it to some laundry service. But you have this, I don't know, maybe there was some machines and you have it wash it yourself. But he went to this shop, and that was his regular practice, that he would go there and wash the clothes and would bring it there. And then Maharaj said that just opposite, on the other side of the street, there was a huge sign, and it says like Netherlands Society for Sex Liberation. And then there was like all kind of advertisement. You want to try out this? Call this number. You want to try this? Call that number. Liberate yourself. Just enjoy. Go for it. And that was in the 70s. So Maharaj just made the point that we're living in a society where it's so much emphasized that you just unrestrictedly enjoy your senses. But in the Bhagavatam, and then Maharaj quotes this shloka from 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, from Prahlad Maharaj. Yanmai tunadi kriyamedi sukham hitucham kandu yanena karayoriva tukka tukkam tripyanti neha kripana bahu tukka bhaja kandu ditamanasi cham vishaheta dira. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Griyamedis, so-called Griyasa, who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The Kripanas, the fools, who are just the opposite of Brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sense enjoyment. Those who are Dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the suffering of fools and rascals. So, the Kriya Medi, and Maharaj explained that Medi, Prabhupada gives also the example that like a bull is forced to work, and there usually there is in the center there is like a, I don't know how to explain in English, but there is like a pillar, and the bull is kind of connected with that, and he just goes in circles, right? So similarly, the Kriya Medi, all his life is centered around sex life, and he's going in circles just around sex life. That's the Kriya Medi. And then Maharaj makes a beautiful point. He says that the turning point to overcome sex life is that one goes away from the Kripana and becomes a Brahmana. And whereas the Kripana is a miserly, he's always concerned about his own sense gratification, the Brahmana is concerned about the pleasure of Krishna, and he's concerned about the well-being of others. And that selflessness, that's the turning point where one can overcome sex desire. And that's the only way, like to develop that attraction to Krishna and that bhakti. And then Maharaj speaks about the platform of Nishta, how we have to somehow reach that platform of Nishta. And Maharaj explained that Nishta means that at least, basically, we are all in the situation that we like Krishna, right? We have some attraction to Krishna and we like devotional service, but we still also have so many material desires. There is always this balance, How much attraction do I have for Krishna, and how much attraction do I have for material sense gratification? And Nishta means that the side for attraction of Krishna has become heavier, like stronger, greater. That's the turning point. Before Nishta, we like Krishna, but we have more material desires. Material desires are stronger than Krishna consciousness. But when we attain the platform of Nishta, actually, we can say Krishna consciousness is plus 50%. Or Maharaj says 60%. Then Nishta we have started with Nishta. When actually our desire to serve Krishna has become greater than the desire to serve our own senses. If we attain that platform where we have a stronger desire to serve Krishna, to serve our Guru, then we come to the platform of Nishta. And of course, even if we go further, then Ruchi comes, we develop a taste, especially Ruchi means we develop a taste in the activity of Bhakti, like in the devotional service. We get great taste in chanting, great taste in serving the Vaishnavas and so on. And Ashakti then actually means that we find the pleasure not only in the service, but we find the pleasure in Krishna himself. Like our attraction is not only the service, but the attraction is Krishna himself. And then, of course, the material desires, they are far somewhere in the background, because Krishna becomes so prominent. We are so attracted to Krishna. But Srila Vishnavacharya Thakur explains that even on the platform of Bhava, there is still some shadow of material desires there. And then Maharaj emphasizes on mercy. That Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj gives the example of a swimmer, someone who swims in an ocean and then finally comes to the shore, and he wants to climb up some stones, but the stones are very slippery, and then very easily you fall off again. And that's the example of practicing devotional service in the beginning stages. Now you try to climb up, you try to rescue yourself from the material ocean of miseries, but when you slip, because it's not so easy to find a footing on a spiritual platform. And then Maharaj quotes Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami with this prayer where he says, actually, the mercy of the Vaishnavas is like the stick on which I hold myself, and that with the help of that stick I can walk on the path of devotion. It's a beautiful picture. It's the mercy of by the mercy of the Vaishnavas I can actually make progress on my spiritual path. Not only progress, I can maintain my progress. I can do any steps by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, and this mercy is compared to a stick that we hold on, like an old man that can hardly walk but needs a stick to come forward. Similarly, we also not able to walk because the path is so slippery, but by the mercy of the Vaishnavas we can make progress. And then Maharaj points out that in Bhagavad Gita we have description of different processes, karma yoga, jnana yoga. And karma yoga means that whatever activities we do, we try to do it for the pleasure of Krishna. Someone likes to sit in front of the computer all day long, so he can do it for Krishna. Or Maharaj gives his own example with music. You're really into music and you like to play music. But then if you just do it for Krishna, at some point you just like kirtan, you don't like any other music anymore. You're just completely in kirtan. And certainly Maharaj, he embodied that. We know he was a musician, but then when he became a devotee and really absorbed in kirtan, he became such an amazing kirtani and engaged that propensity in the Lord's service. Jnana means that we preach to our mind, and Maharaj made a beautiful point. He said that we preach to our mind, we strengthen our intelligence, and he gives the example of learning shlokas. When we learn shlokas, it's a powerful way to sharpen the intelligence. And then Maharaj said that because usually the mind is so dirty, there's so many dirty things in the mind, and the consciousness is completely material. But then when we put some shloka into our mind, this is like putting some jewels in our, these jewels are like shining jewels in the darkness of our impure consciousness. It's a nice picture, no? You have a dark, impure consciousness, full of material desires, and then you put some shining jewel of shloka into your consciousness, and that shines and brings some Krishna conscious light into the consciousness. And that's what shloka do. If you learn shlokas, you meditate about the meaning. But then Maharaj made the point that the ultimate turning point to actually overcome lust is bhakti. If you really identify as a servant of Krishna, a servant of the Vaishnavas. And Maharaj then makes the point that we need to take shelter in the service that we have received from the Vaishnavas. And that's something that Maharaj often spoke about, and he personally told to me many times that service is our saving grace, especially to overcome lust or to overcome material desires. We need to fully, we should accept the service that is given by us, by the Vaishnavas, and then we should fully embrace that service, and that service is the main transformation factor for our spiritual progress. By absorbing in that service, by trying to please the spiritual master, trying to please the Vaishnavas. That's a very powerful way to make progress in devotional service. And then Maharaj speaks about how we sometimes like to jump into the higher topics of pure devotional service, Raganuga Bhakti, but that actually to perform this service is much more important for us. And Maharaj says that we see all these T-shirts. I love Vrindavan. I'm sure you have seen, no? I love Vrindavan. And Prabhupada said, I say I don't believe you. I love Vrindavan. You really love Vrindavan? I think you love yourself, right? and Maharaj says that Prabhupada liked the word rascal. That was one of his favorite words. So a better T-shirt would be, I'm a rascal. No? That would be a better T-shirt. not I love Vrindavan. No, I am a rascal. That would be a better T-shirt. quite a strong point that Maharaj makes. But in a sense of, like, it's not such a cheap thing to love Vrindavan. It's not such a cheap thing to really develop this attraction to Krishna. And we have to understand what is our position. And then the main point that why Maharaj makes this point is that we are depending on mercy. No, we should take a humble position, knowing that we are rascals, we don't deserve, but we are by the mercy, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave that mercy, and Srila Prabhupada carried that mercy to the Western world. And then Maharaj mentioned the story of Nrsimha, Prahlad Nrsimha, how when Nrsimhadev appeared, the Lord respected the blessings of Brahma. Brahma, although he was foolish, but Brahma gave all these blessings to Hiranyakashipu. But when Vishnu appeared, or Krishna appeared in the form of Nrsimhadev, he respected all the blessings. Because why? Because Rishi Uchuhu, a great pure devotee, has spoken these words. That's why Krishna respects it. Similarly, when Prabhupada says, "Okay, chant 16 rounds, and you follow, and you really dedicate your life in Krishna consciousness, then I will take you back to Godhead," then Krishna will respect these words. And that's why we are so blessed by Prabhupada's mercy. Yes, Mahaprabhu gave the mercy, but that prema was locked, and it was unlocked by Mahaprabhu's mercy, and Prabhupada carried that mercy. And then Maharaj made a point that therefore devotees are the greatest heroes, because they carry Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy and they make it available for everyone. And then Maharaj speaks his famous experiences in Tibet. I think we all know that, right? Maharaj's stories, how he went to Nepal, Nepal, like Tibet, and yeah, he was a spiritual seeker, and he saw all these. There were many Westerners, like yogis, and they were all discussing, drinking their chai, and they're discussing, are you already doing Vipassana meditation? Which grade? And have you already doing that exercise and doing that exercise? And Maharaj could understand this is the same thing, like it's all about status and pratishta, basically about who is the better spiritualist. And Maharaj said he didn't knew about Krishna so much at that point, but he knew about the material world and about pride and about all of that. So he understood that's not honest spirituality. Then he met that Lama, and he was fascinated by that Lama. He thought that you don't only see these guys in a movie, but now he saw that Lama turning this prayer, prayer wheels, and Maharaj wanted to address him, but he just ignored. And then Maharaj understood, well, yeah, according to his philosophy, he's just a reflection of his mind, so that's why he didn't bother to talk with Maharaj. And then Maharaj understood that's not the kind of philosophy that he doesn't want to be a reflection of the mind of someone else. So he understood, I don't like that philosophy, very impersonal. And he opened Bhagavad Gita from Prabhupada. He read about impersonalism and how devotional service is much more greater. So then Prabhupada came to Vrindavan, and Maharaj came to Vrindavan, and then he was completely convinced that that's the place to be, Krishna Balaram Mandir. So that, in a nutshell, was the lecture that Maharaj gave on this particular shloka. I just listened this morning, 4:25. So Maharaj emphasized that the devotees are the greatest heroes, because they carry the mercy of the Lord, and they are giving access to devotional service to the conditioned souls. And of course, His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj himself was such an amazing spiritual hero. And we can, from the purport that Prabhupada writes, you know, we can get the mood of a sannyasi. Like it's very much, you know, like that enthusiasm about renunciation, but not just not dry renunciation, but an enthusiasm for just dedicating our life to Krishna, just finishing the business. Like Prabhupada often said, this material world it's a place we just come to finish our business. We don't have anything else to do here. And that's a powerful statement, you know, like the only thing that we have to do in this material world is to cultivate our loving relationship to Krishna, and we have nothing else to do. That's the only business. And yeah, we may have so many material desires. I want to make a career, I want to do this job, I want to have this relationship, I want to have family, this and that. That's maybe there, but at the end of the day, the only business that we really have is to cultivate our relationship with Krishna. Because that's why we got this human form of life. And that's the great chance that we have. And Maharaj was so much in that mood. He was so much in that spirit. Of just, you know, please, you know, just take this chance, just perfect your life. And he himself, he lived it. He was very much in that mood. And when Maharaj spoke about how we should, how the service is our saving grace, how we should accept a service and then fully dedicate to that service, and we can see how he did it, right? He, let me see. So first Maharaj joined in 78 and then took shelter in Vrindavan Dham and served there till 48 in the Holy Dham in Vrindavan. And then from 85, I think till mid-90s, Maharaj served in Mayapur. And what was his service? The construction of the Prabhupada Samadhi. I mean, horrible. The construction of the Pushpa Samadhi of the founder Acharya in the world's headquarter of the Hare Krishna movement. That's such an amazing service, such a great responsibility. And that it was Maharaj, sir, he was in charge of that. What a contribution. And he also, it's interesting, I hope Gauralila Prabhu will be able to come tomorrow. Oh, yeah, he has a mobile. That's a pity. I will urge him, maybe he can send us a video or something, he can send a message. But it would be nice to hear from him. Because Gauralila happened to be in Mayapur, serving together with Kadamba Maharaj, and their service was to organize the Mayapur festivals. Can you imagine? It's like the Mayapur festivals, you know, that's the biggest festival in the movement, and there's thousands of devotees coming, and Gauralila was organizing it together with Kadamba Maharaj. Of course, there's a whole committee there. I'm sure there were many other devotees involved. But Gauralila shared me on Gaur Purnima evening. He shared me how Kadamba Maharaj, he was such a powerful, leader that especially he dealt with the difficult cases. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Shishigo Nitai Ki Jai. Now, whenever Gauralila couldn't, when he couldn't deal anymore with someone, he would call for Kadamba Maharaj. And Kadamba Maharaj, in both, in a very intelligent, in a very sweet, but if required, in also very forceful way, would make sure that these devotees get the point. And that's very unique. Maharaj was, he was spiritually so deep, such a deep personality, and also so much empowered, but also from the material point of view, he was extremely capable, extremely, in many ways, extremely capable person. So he served in Mayapur Dham, supervising the construction, and then until he returned in 95, and to serve as a temple president, in Vrindavan. I think that's until. Yeah, until 95 he served, of course, he served before. But he serves as temple president in Vrindavan. That's another, Vrindavan is the Prabhupada's home. It's also most important. Basically, there was a statement that Prabhupada said that even if all the temples in the world would have to be closed down for some reason, the movement is kind of very much. But if there are two temples should remain, always. Not an inch should get lost from these two projects. That is Vrindavan and Mayapur. Because these places are so important. And Maharaj served, establishing the Pushpa Samadhi in Mayapur, and Maharaj served as a president in Vrindavan. I mean, you can just see the role, the position of Maharaj also in the eye of Srila Prabhupada. No? Yes, Maharaj was not a direct disciple of Prabhupada, but Maharaj was a Prabhupada man like not many. He was such an staunch Prabhupada man. And certainly Prabhupada must have been extremely pleased with his service. And that you can see that by the way he was empowered to serve in these capacities. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj makes a point that a great leader, and that's when we speak about spiritual heroes, right? A great leader, he has 4 qualities, and he gives the 4 C's: character, competence, compassion, and courage. And it's in this sequence. First is character, then competence, then compassion, and then courage. And in Maharaj, we can see all 4 of them in a very great way. Like his character was spotless. He was such a wonderful person just to be with. Like, whoever came in touch with him immediately felt so comfortable. And he was winning the trust of all the devotees just by his character, and of course also very charismatic. I mean, extremely charismatic. No, we speak of charisma. Charisma means if someone is, I don't know, how do you define charisma? Like someone who is very attractive for people, or kind of just by his behavior, people are kind of, magnetic. Yeah, like people feel attracted to a person. Maharaj was in a very charismatic person. And for me personally, what was very attractive is, first of all, he was very approachable. Like you could just talk to him, and he was very cool, and it was not at all the picture of a guru or like a sannyasi you would imagine. And I wrote in my blog that I published yesterday that I had difficulties in the beginning. I was confused. Maharaj, why do you? In my thought, I was thinking, why do you behave like this? Like I didn't. The thing is, I didn't know how should I interact with him. He was like, hey. I had my picture of sannyasi was like. But he just made everyone so comfortable, and then also his humor. I mean, I remember, especially in the Hasliberg, there was one year, I think 2013 or so, we had a retreat in the Swiss mountains. And Maharaj was the main speaker at that time, because Satchidananda Maharaj didn't came for that retreat, and he was always one of the main speakers, but there was even more space for him at that retreat. And every morning we were laughing, crying tears in the Bhagavatam class in the morning. Maharaj, it just, it was so humorous, but at the same time it was so deep. You were walking out the class with wet tears because you were laughing so much, but at the same time you walked out with like, wow, I have to do something, I have to change my life, I do something, And that combination, how is that possible? But he could do it. He could catch the attention of people by just his charisma, by his humor. But at the same time, then when everyone opens the heart, then he really gave a strong message. That was his expertise. He really gave a strong message. As I said, he was really a sannyasi. He was really a spiritual hero in the sense which is described here. Very strong, and very dedicated, very convinced. And then the next C is competent, extremely competent in all the activities. And that's why the institution always wanted him to take up more leadership. I mean, he was asked many times to become a GBC and all of that. But his guru didn't allow him. And he always made the point that this movement needs sadhus, not managers. There will be manager always, but we need sadhus. and he wanted to focus more on that. But still he managed, as we heard, constructed the samadhi and served as temple president, and he saved basically the Spain yatra, and so many things he did also as a manager. But he always managed from a very spiritual point. And then the next C, compassion. And of course that's also, for me Maharaj also embodies this, shock, that Mahaprabhu's compassion and mercy. He was extremely compassionate. And I saw it many times also, how he dealt with his disciples, even if they had some, fall downs or difficulties, and how he dealt with them, how they encouraged them. And also, how mercifully accepted, he gave shelter to so many. Very compassionate. And also, that compassion also showed by how he really cared for devotees. How he really, and I think his role as a guru, I was always impressed. How, to be a guru, what a service. I don't know if you have ever thought about what it means. You have, a few hundred or even a few thousand disciples, and they all see you as their center of their life, and they all need so much attention, and you're supposed to deal with all of them. And they come with their problems, they come with their issues, and they write you messages, and if you don't reply within a couple of days, they feel completely disappointed, my guru is neglecting me, and you have to deal with all of that. It's incredible. But whenever I was in association with Maharaj, when I saw how he dealt with his disciple on such a personal level, incredible. And also the way he answered questions, and how he guided his disciples. Wonderful. And then the last C is courage. A hero, of course, a spiritual hero, he has a lot of courage. He's very strong and very powerful. And of course that's manifested in Maharaj's kirtan. And Maharaj would always joke, they invite me for the rock kirtan, and okay, now it's time for the dancing, and also I just in one of the Zoom lectures, Maharaj said that by Ayurveda he has hardly any kapha. He has no kapha. There's only fire and wind, air, and that means I'm a blazing forest fire. I'm like a blazing forest fire. And that was Maharaj. He was a very dynamic person. You could see there was so much Shakti, and of course that was his empowerment that he had. There was so much Shakti, and he had such a desire to spread Krishna consciousness, such a desire to help devotees, and he had such love for Krishna. Now on Facebook you find all these memories of the devotees and friends. It's beautiful, so many. And there was one astrologer. Amazing, I actually wanted to read it, but anyway, we can do it maybe tomorrow. But you should read it. So powerful, glorious chart of Maharaj, and to hear about that. So Maharaj's courage not only manifested in his powerful kirtan, but also he was very revolutionary. Actually, he didn't really fit into the box, not much. Certainly not into the mainstream ISKCON box. He was thinking very much out of the box, and that's something I also very much appreciate. Maharaj, he was very loyal. At the same time, he really was thinking out of the box, and he always encouraged everyone to not just be blind followers, but to think for yourself and to have a very broad-minded vision for Krishna consciousness. So in this way, and of course in many other ways, Maharaj certainly embodied that great spiritual heroism, and certainly him leaving us, certainly leaves a great vacuum, because our institution lost such a great hero. And I know time is up, but I just wanted to say a few words about the disappearance of Guru when Guru leaves. So we glorified Maharaj now as a great spiritual hero according to this shloka the Bhagavatam. We also heard Prabhupada's Maharaj's lecture on this shloka. And for us who left behind and we lost that association, we should always remember that by sticking to Vani, we still can associate with Maharaj. Basically, it's two things. There's the memories that we have, and and that's the beautiful thing when we got Vapu, when we got the personal association. Then in a personal association, we have all these experiences, this interaction, these loving exchanges, the service that we perform, and then we receive also the different instructions, the Vani. So when the Guru leaves the physical body, the Vapu is gone, but the Vani remains. And the Vani includes that memory, that remembrance, and then of course also the personal instruction that we received. And as long as a disciple remembers the association and especially the Vani of the Guru, he always will stay connected. And that's the way to be connected with the Guru. Just like to read this. This is from, let me see here. This is from Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. He speaks about this. The spiritual master is the representative of Krishna. He is a very dear devotee of Krishna who is Chaitya Guru, seated in the heart as super soul. The spiritual master is always there. Don't think that he is not physically present, that he is not there. He is there. He is always there. If you have developed love for the spiritual master, if you have developed that I, then you can see him, you can talk to him. So he will always be present by Vani. The Guru is always with the disciple. The Guru's passing away is only apparent. The Guru is always there. I am eternally his disciple and he is eternally my Guru. Such a relationship is there. His passing away is only apparent. He is always with us. We have such a loving relationship. Although he is not present here, although he is gone home back to Godhead, from that Braj Bhumi, eternal Goloka Vrindavan, he has his eye on his dear disciple and takes care of him. That's a beautiful point, that although the Guru who certainly attains at the end of his life, when he leaves his body, he attains the spiritual abode, entering into the eternal lila. So sometimes we may question, okay, my Guru is now in his Swarup Siddhi, in his eternal relationship with Krishna. So will he still be able to hear my prayers? Is he actually thinking about me? Because now he's engaged in his eternal. But here it says that actually, yes, he is in his eternal lila, but with one eye, he is still with the disciples. But with which disciples? Those disciples who follow his instructions. For them, he is still there. And then also it's beautifully described how the Guru also can appear again. I mean, Guru can actually come back physically into the material world to save his disciples. He can do that. But he can also choose to remain in the eternal abode, but he can manifest through other sadhus. I think that's important for us, for those, like our own Diksha Guru can manifest through other sadhus, like especially those who were close to him. Maharaj has close, like his own Guru, Chadvaita Maharaj or Keshav Maharaj. Now you got brothers or other sadhus who were close to Kadambakara Maharaj. Maharaj may choose to speak through them. That's how it's described. That the Guru who has left, he can still guide his disciples by manifesting through other sadhus. And so that's a way we can take shelter. Of course, we take shelter of the instruction and the loving relationship that we have.